Have you ever read an LSAT argument and thought to yourself, wait, that actually makes sense? But then the question says, which one of the following, if true, most weakens the argument? And suddenly your brain's like, oh no, everything sounds right. Yeah, that's weakened questions. They sound simple. They're asking you to just find what weakens the argument. But they're actually one of the best indicators of whether you really understand logical reasoning or you're just memorizing patterns. And so today, I'm going to show you how to see the logic gap, the space between what's said and what's actually proven. That is the real key to every single weakened question. The goal is that you'll be able to spot the flaws faster, you'll see through the traps, and you'll be able to pick the one answer that actually does damage, not just sounds negative. Now, here is the simplest way to think about weakened questions. You're not trying to destroy the argument, you're just trying to make it a little bit shaky. It's like a table that has one loose screw. It still is able to stand, but it's shaky, it's wobbly. So your goal is to make the argument less convincing. And to do that, you have to understand the argument's conclusion. Specifically, for example, what is the argument's claim? What is it trying to prove? What's the conclusion? Secondly, what's the evidence? What is the reason they think it's true? And finally, what is the glue? What is the assumption connecting the two parts together? Evidence and conclusion. That glue, that connection, the assumption, that is the weak point, and that is where you strike. So when you see in a question stem, which one of the following, if true, most weakens, I want you to pause for just 2 seconds and ask yourself, what is the gap here? If you take that moment of pause and reflection, that could save you from getting hypnotized or tricked by 5 shiny wrong answers. And that is what weakened questions do. They reveal where the logic doesn't hold together. Now, the LSAT can phrase a weakened question in a couple of different ways. They could say, for example, which one of the following, if true, calls into question the reasoning above? They could say, which one of the following, if true, undermines the argument? Or they could say, which one of the following, if true, casts doubt on the conclusion? Same job, different wording. And notice that these question stems always include the phrase, if true. That is LSAC giving you permission to assume the new information is 100% real. Even if it sounds wild or extreme, if it weakens the reasoning, it still counts.